Do you want to bring more creativity and lively arts to your homeschool lessons? The Taproot Teacher Training for Homeschoolers is the perfect opportunity to learn how to create engaging lessons for your children and family. Experience Waldorf-Inspired workshops in the grades, music, art, science, stories, and so much more, plus campfires, yoga, and swimming in the lake. Taproot is a magical in-person weekend training for homeschoolers in Northeastern Ohio every summer. It's like summer camp, a teacher training, and personal retreat all in one. Join us for the 18th annual Taproot Teacher Training, August 1st through 4th, 2024, where you'll meet new friends on the homeschooling journey and get the homeschooling guidance you need to homeschool with confidence. Check out all the photos to see for yourself at artofhomeschooling.com/taproot2024. And while you're there, you can put your name on the interest list. We open registration to this list first so that those who are most interested can register before we open to the public. And I'd love to see you at Taproot 2024.
You're listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin.
Years ago, Friday night became family game night at our house. Laughing, sharing, and building memories. This was such a much-loved part of our weekly rhythm. We'd have our Friday family dinner and then break out the board games. Recently, Brian and I returned from a trip to California to visit our middle son, Ben, who is now in his 30s, believe it or not. He and his partner, Laura, live in a Sprinter van that they've converted into a camper van. Pretty cool. On our visit, we went on lots of walks in the woods, foraged for mushrooms, and walked along the beaches in Monterey Bay. So much joy and connection and fun. And almost every night after dinner, the four of us played a board game called Ticket to Ride. And this brought back so many wonderful memories. So today, I thought I'd share with you all the benefits I see from playing games together. So you can weave this activity into your weekly or even monthly rhythm for your family, or explore some new games that you might incorporate into your day. The biggest benefit I see from playing games together is connection. Games are such a great way to relax and connect with loved ones. Now, you may have some super competitive members of your family or little ones who have a hard time following rules or a hard time losing a game, but there are solutions for all of that. I promise. We've been there. The best place to start with younger children is with non-competitive games. There's a wonderful company called Family Pastimes Cooperative Games, and we've loved so many of their games. In fact, the very first games we ever owned in our family were from this company. Sleeping Grump and Max the Cat were favorites. In this kind of game, players work together toward a common goal. In Max the Cat, for instance, all the players are cooperating to get the little critters back to their homes safely before Max catches them. Cooperative games are a great place to start when children have a hard time following the rules of a game. Some kiddos may even have a tendency to bend the rules or make them up as you go. So working together can really shift this tendency. And it also takes away the competition that can seem so intense for young children. Competitive games sometimes feel like they pit players against each other, and this is hard to manage for some kiddos. Someone ends up feeling bad or left out. This was true in our family with two brothers who are just 16 months apart. So we stuck with cooperative games until they were old enough to enjoy the competition in a friendly way. Cooperative games can continue even as kids get older. After all, the impulse to play a game together is social. In fact, every culture the world over has their own games that they pass down through generations. We all want to do something together. Games can really help foster a sense of community, and games can help make learning fun because there's so much learning that is going on even when that isn't the main focus. One other tip for those of you with neurodivergent kiddos: cooperative games or activities that foster working together can be a really good solution. One of our family favorites is something called Kapla blocks that are like wooden blocks for older kids, really. The set includes lots of little wooden planks, I would describe them as, and these planks can be used to build these most amazing structures. I'll mention a link to all of these games that we're talking about in just a few minutes here. But first, I want to talk about the learning benefits of playing games because so many skills can be learned through games. Here are just a few of the skills that playing games can foster. Games help to foster patience, problem solving, social skills, language development, cognitive skills such as critical and strategic thinking, and communication skills. Check out the article, Playing Games Can Build 21st Century Skills. Research Explains How, on the website EdSurge. I'll link to this article. It describes how even playing digital games can help build skills. One of the article's main points is that, and this is a quote, all games use learning theory to some extent. Games really are actually designed to help us develop skills progressively so we can strategize to win the game. Isn't it fun to think about incorporating games into your week and into your homeschooling day? The best way I have found to start bringing in more games was to add a family game night to our weekly rhythm. But you also might want to incorporate games by sprinkling in shorter games throughout the week, especially during dinner time or for a few minutes after dinner before everyone disperses. This can be so helpful for nights when Papa or one parent has to work late and the other is doing dinner solo. Games can help keep everyone engaged at the table. Here's some more favorites for that: Rat-a-tat-cat, Sushi Go, and Monopoly Deal. These smaller, shorter games are great for throwing in your bag for outings, camping trips, or car trips too. And of course, there are games that are geared toward learning specific skills as well, such as games for reading or math in particular. And movement games that help our children be more active are another way that you can bring games to your day. All of these kinds of games can be part of a learning approach for homeschoolers. I have a resource for these kinds of games on my website, and I'll be sure to link to those in the show notes for this episode. I'm thinking specifically of two articles that I'll link to. One of them is Movement Games for Children, and the other is Sprinkle Some Smiles on Your Homeschooling Day with Games. Now, back to board games and family game night. If you want suggestions for board games, like favorite games that you might check out, I have a list on my website called Best Games for Family Game Night, where I share our family's all-time favorite games. I list 10 fabulous games from youngest to oldest. So check out my list of favorites at artofhomeschooling.com/family game night. I'll also be sure to put a link in the show notes for this episode. One huge benefit of having a great list of games is that you can share that list with grandparents or other extended family when they're looking for gift ideas for your children. Most libraries also now have games that you can check out, which is awesome, especially for the more expensive games like Ticket to Ride. You can try them out and see if the game is a good fit for your kiddos. Or check out the junior version a few times before investing. Sarah from the Art of Homeschooling team talks about how her family borrowed Ticket to Ride Junior from the library for several years before her youngest was old enough to move up to the family version of the game, and then they invested in buying it. I hope I've convinced you to bring more games to your family and your homeschool. I'd love to know what your family's favorite games are. There are so many great games. Every week after this podcast episode goes live, we post a carousel of tips on Instagram and Facebook directly from that episode. And those posts are a great place for you to comment and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you there. What games are you enjoying with your family right now? You can find links to everything I've mentioned here in the show notes for this episode at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 172. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will catch you next time. Bye for now.
That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.